Hey, it's Mr. Mabry, and we're going to talk about why would people consider cloning. If you're watching this video, you probably have already watched our introductory video on cloning and stem cells, learned the basic terms and history of where cloning's come from and where we think it might be going. And as we've done with our earlier videos, we're going to use our friends' material from the University of Utah Genetic Science Learning Center. This is a link off their website, and these notes on the right are going to be a way to quickly summarize the points found within for my students in Congress. So let's get started. Now, this is going to expand as I write, students, so I wouldn't fill this in ahead of time. I would fill it along with me as we write. Maybe you want to pause it and go ahead and set this up right here, but no, this will be probably a good 3/4 of your page when it's all said and done. So the first reason we might consider cloning is for medicine. These little guys right here are called transgenic mice. They're mice that have a bonus gene inserted in them that we wanted to test. Now, we use mice because mice are mammals and they closely mimic a lot of internal conditions that happen to humans. So they're good models of disease. So we'll go ahead and write down that one reason to clone is to create mouse models. We need genetically identical mice in order to see how disease processes play out in mouse populations, and cloning one candidate a couple hundred times saves time and money rather than breeding many generations of mice hoping to have the same combinations of genes. Another reason you can see here is that to produce stem cells for us to study disease processes through the use of therapeutic cloning. Now, we've covered this in an earlier video, so we can just write down therapeutic cloning stem cells through somatic cell nuclear transfer. So these are all pretty good reasons why cloning would be helpful. To make these mice models to study, and so we can make some stem cells that are the same as patients to see if they're able to help us cure certain diseases like Parkinson's and other neural diseases. Now, here's a real fun one for people. Endangered or extinct species. Every year students ask me, when are the dinosaurs coming back? When do we get the Triceratops, the T-Rex, the Velociraptor? Well, you have to realize for extinct animals, this is probably not likely that we're going to be cloning them anytime soon. And the reason why this is not likely is because that we need a couple things. We need preserved DNA, and probably even more challenging because we do have bones of animals and things that we find that have been well preserved, but we also would need some sort of, what's the phrase I want to use? Oh yes, a suitable surrogate. So as you know, through somatic cell nuclear transfer, we can always take the DNA of someone and put it in somebody else's egg and then use that egg to grow in a surrogate spouse is what I was going to say, but a surrogate animal. But for Triceratops, who would grow a baby Triceratops inside them? Who's suitable enough? So that's a trick that's hard to pull. That being said, I think it is much more promising that cloning is perhaps a useful tool to preserve like species over here that are currently endangered to boost their populations. So I think endangered species, yes, this could be really powerful. And if you go to this article here, you can read about how there are, the bucardo, the bison, things of that nature. They've already been cloning to try to bring back their numbers in the wild with mixed successes. And there's a link down here you can click on if you'd like to know more. Okay, another fun one is to talk about pets. I don't know if you currently know this, but here in the United States, we have already had companies that have created and successfully cloned people's pets. In fact, in 2001, the first cat was cloned. So if you are just made of money and you love Fluffy, you could get your pet cloned. So that might have, something to offer people that really are attached to their pets. Okay, livestock. Now, if you're not a farmer, you might not appreciate this, but it is not easy to come across what we would call high-yield cattle and pigs and things that produce high-quality milk and meat. You've probably heard that, farmers always want to mate the best horse or the best cow with somebody else's because they know those traits are desirable and they want to make sure those traits are passed on to their cattle. Well, why waste the time mixing genes if you have the perfect ideal cow? And you could just clone that cow over and over again, and you're going to get a huge bull, or you're going to get a huge heifer that produces high quality milk. Why not just take hundreds of clones of that? So that's got some potential. Let's talk drugs. Now here's something we have not gone into great detail, and we won't this year, but stay with me for a second. There is something out there called transgenic mammals. And you see there's two roots here. We have trans, meaning across, and then we have genic, meaning genes. And so these would be mammals that have genes that come from across different species that we are now inserting inside their genome to produce foreign substances in their milk. So let's write that down. Mammals with foreign genes that are expressed in their milk. So this is sort of a crafty, maybe slightly scary, but also slightly cool way of getting mammals to make these drugs in their milk, and that then you can then siphon or filter the milk out and get these drugs in your hand that they don't normally produce. So that's one cool aspect of cloning, that if we got an animal to do that, why not get tons of copies of that animal to get this drug in a relatively cheap way? And then, of course, finally, there are humans. If we clone, why not clone humans? And you might just be totally creeped out by that. I mean, thinking, oh no, this is like clone armies, from like Star Wars. But, there's really some valid issues concerning infertility. Maybe a man or woman aren't able to have kids. Is this an option for them to be able to have kids that are somehow connected to them when they're having reproductive issues? Or perhaps, what if there are geniuses in our culture that we want to preserve? So genius preservation, like a Mozart or an Einstein or something like that you think could really contribute to society, but old age is going to rob us of their genius. Perhaps cloning is a method to preserve that genius. So here's some different, so these are 6 summaries that this article gets into that I think are valid and worth discussing, and you can be sure that we will bring these up in the days to come. Thanks for watching.